With which statement would the author probably agree? Yes, Bailey.
Right now, my camera, it's like turning on and turning back on.
Okay.
So like, just to let you know,
Okay.
it
Thank you.
doesn't want to work.
That's all right. Thank you for letting me know, though. So, with which statement would the author probably agree? Means after we read this story, they want to know if we asked the author one of these questions or we said one of these to the author, which one would the author say is true or which one would they think is correct? Number 2 says checks and balances blank. So when we're reading the story, we want to make sure that when they start talking about checks and balances, we slow down, we pay attention so we can find our answer. They want us to say something about checks and balances. Number 3, who may veto a bill passed by Congress? Okay, again, they're talking about vetoing a bill. But when we see that word veto, again, we're going to slow down, we're going to pay attention so we can find our answer. Number 4, on the back, draw a graphic organizer to represent the 3 branches of government. Now that one, we don't obviously have a back of this paper. It's just the next slide. So I'll show you what we're going to do when we get to question number 4. Let's go ahead and read our story. This one's called The Branches of Government. The United States government has 3 branches or parts. Executive. The executive branch is led by the president. The job of the president and the executive branch is to enforce the laws. It is also the job of the president to decide whether to sign a bill passed by Congress into law or veto it. So, the first branch that they talk about is the executive branch. The executive branch, their main job, the main reason why they're there, is to enforce the laws, to make sure that people are following the laws. I said the person that's in charge of the executive branch is the president. They're the ones that they decide when they come up with a new bill or a new law. The president can sign it and say, you know what, I agree. I think this is a good law. I think we should have this law. Or the president can do what they call a veto. And that means that instead of signing it and saying, yes, this is a good law, this is a law that everyone should follow, they can look at the law and say, I don't think this is a fair law. I don't think everyone should have to follow this. I don't think it needs to be a law. And they can send it back. So if they send it back, it doesn't become a law. If they sign it, it does. So they kind of get like the final decision whether or not something will be a law or not. Congressional. The congressional branch is made up of the Congress of the United States. Congress is a group of people who are elected to make laws. They write laws they would like to see voted on and passed. Those are called bills, and they are not actually laws until passed by the Congress and signed by the president. Of course, the president can veto it if he wants to. So, the congressional branch is a group of people, actually 2 groups of people. They get people from every state to go to Congress. When they're in Congress, what they do is they talk, all as a group, and they try to decide what laws we should make. So if they notice there's a problem with something, and they go, oh, you know what? This keeps happening to people, and it's not fair. It's not okay. We should make a law so that it doesn't happen anymore. They all talk about it, and they all try to decide, okay, what would be fair for everybody? Would this be fair for everybody? Do we need to make a law about this? Then they can have a vote. And they all get together and they either say, yes, this is a good law, this is a law we should have, or they say, no, this is not a good law, or this is not a law we should have. If they vote, yes, this is a law that we should have, this is a good law, then they can send it to the president. And again, the president gets the final decision. If the president looks at it and he agrees with the congressional branch, he says, you know what, this is a good law. We need this law. They sign it, and it becomes the law. If they look at it and they go, I don't agree with you guys. I don't think that this is a good law or that this is a fair law. They can veto it, and what that does is they send it back to Congress, and they can look at it again, kind of like the same way that when we do our work, you'll turn it in, and I grade it for you, and sometimes you get your grade back, and you go, oh, I don't want that grade. I want to look at this again, and I want to try to fix it. They can do the same thing. If a law gets vetoed, gets sent back to Congress, Congress can look at it again and go, okay, what can we do to fix this law, to make it better or more fair? And if they can agree on it again, they can send it back to the president again with these changes that they made. Judiciary. The judiciary branch is all the courts in the land, from the local justice of the peace all the way up to the Supreme Court of the United States. The job of the courts is to decide whether the laws are fair. If the Supreme Court decides a law is not fair under the Constitution, it can strike the law down. So the judiciary branch, like it says, is every court, whether it's a court that just works for El Paso, whether it's a court that works for all of Texas, or even like the Supreme Court, which works for all of America. The courts, their job is once something becomes a law. So once Congress says, yes, this is a fair law, this is okay. Once the president says, yes, this is okay, I'm going to make it a law, the judiciary branch can look at the law too. And they can decide, you know what? No, this isn't fair. It's not fair that this is a law because some people don't have to follow it and some people do. Or it's not fair because it I don't know, it could be something that interferes or that stops people's rights. It keeps them from doing something that they should be able to do. If they decide, if they look at a law and they say, you know what? No, this isn't fair. This is not a fair law. They can get rid of the law. They can say, you know what? No, it's not fair for everyone. And since it's not fair for everyone, it can't be a law. Because a law needs to be fair for everybody. So if they look at a law and they decide it's not fair, they can get rid of that law. Checks and balances. So these kind of checks are not the kind of checks that people write about money. All three branches are equal in power and importance. A law can't be passed without the approval of Congress. It must be signed by the president. It must be proven fair by the Supreme Court if someone thinks that it is unfair. So, really quick, raise your hand if you've ever played rock, paper, scissors. Okay, a lot of us have. Good. You'll understand what I'm saying. So for those of us who have played rock, paper, scissors, who can tell me how do you play the game?
One day we actually played it with the computer.
That's cool.
On
JD.
PE.
So you're supposed to have another partner, but you like go rock, paper, scissors, shoot, and when you go to shoot, you're supposed to either put rock, scissors, or paper, and whoever could defeat the other one, they would win that round. And then you keep on going.
Okay, how do you know if someone defeated somebody else?
Paper and rock, paper could go over rock, and then scissors and scissors could go over paper, scissors and rock could go over scissors.
Okay. So when you're playing rock, paper, scissors, if you said paper and rock first. So paper and rock. The paper beats the rock. And if you have scissors and paper, scissors beats paper. And if you have scissors and rock, rock beats the scissors. So, in the game of rock, paper, scissors, there's nothing that you could do that always wins. Like if I just always use rock, does that mean I'm going to win every single time? No. Because somebody can beat me by using, or sorry, not using scissors, by using paper. So if I just keep saying rock, 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 someone can just say paper and then they beat me. I can't keep going paper, 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 paper. Because all someone has to do is tell me scissors. Then they win. I can't keep saying scissors, scissors, scissors. Because someone could just use rock and then they win. So in rock, paper, scissors, there's not one thing that will always win. Checks and balances work the same way. To make sure that all the branches, all the parts of the government are equal, checks and balances make sure that every part of the government can you could kind of say like they can beat, or they can I guess you could say like they can beat or they can stop another part of the government. That way, it's not always, oh, there's one part of the government that's way more important because they make all of the decisions. That's not the way it works in our government. If one part of the government makes a decision, the other parts of the government can get rid of that decision. They can say, no, that's not fair, or that doesn't work for everyone, or that's not a good idea, and they can change it. It was made like that on purpose. Remember, before we had America, they were part of England, and England had a king. The king got to decide everything by himself. Whatever the king wanted happened. Whatever rules the king wanted, those were the rules. Whatever laws the king wanted, those were the laws. And if you didn't agree with the laws, or the laws weren't fair for you, or whatever it might be, too bad. You weren't the king. You don't get to decide. So when they made our government, they didn't want a king anymore. They didn't want one person to be able to make all the decisions by themselves and make all the rules by themselves. They wanted to make sure that everything was fair and that no one part of the government got to do everything. They all have to work together, and because they have to work together, that means that they're able to make laws that are fair for everybody, or they're able to make decisions that will be good for everybody, not just for some people. Last paragraph. Constitution. How were these three branches formed? Who decides what they do? It was all decided by our founding fathers and written down in the Constitution of the United States, which is the highest law of the land. Checks and balances were very important to our founding fathers, so no one branch would become too strong. So just like I was saying, when they made the government, they wanted to make sure that every part of the government could stop or beat the other parts. So that way they all had to work together. It can't be one part of the government working on its own, being greedy or being unfair. They all have to work together. So let's start on question 1. With which statement would the author probably agree? The executive branch is the most important because it is led by the president. Congress can pass laws by itself. The judiciary branch is the most important branch. The three branches of government are equal in power. Which one of those answer choices would the author probably say is correct? Like if we told these to the author, whoever wrote this, which one would they go, yep, that's true? Would they say A is true, B, C, or D? What answer choice do you think the author would say is true? What do you think, Jaylene? Out of those 4 answer choices, which one do you think the author would say is true? A, B, C, or D? What would you pick?
Um, I picked D.
Which one, Jaylene?
D.
Answer choice D. Okay. What's our proof?
Um,
We picked the 3 branches of government are equal in power. Can you find a part in our story that tells us that? And while Jaylene's looking, I want you to look as well. That way, if Jaylene can't find it, we can help her out. Do we see a part of our story that says the 3 branches of government are equal in power? So Jaylene, if you find it, you just tell me. If someone else finds it, raise your hand. That way we can use it as our proof. Alexa, you found it? Okay, where should I look?
You should look in paragraph 4. It says all 3 branches are equal in power and importance.
Okay. Again, I'm going to go ahead and just use an arrow. Right here. All 3 branches are equal in power and importance. So they tell us that if they're equal in importance, that means that there's not one branch of the government that's more important than the others. So answer choice D is a great answer choice. Question 2. Checks and balances blank. Should we pick A? Checks and balances is so each branch can write checks. B. Checks and balances was created by Congress. C. Checks and balances keeps all the branches equal. Or D. Checks and balances was signed into law by the president. Which answer choice makes the most sense to pick for question 2? Ezekiel, what do you think? A, B, C, or D?
D.
Checks and balances was signed into law by the president. Okay, Ezekiel, find me where in the story it tells me that. Find your proof for me.
In paragraph 2, it says signed by the president.
Those are called bills, and they are not actually laws until passed by the Congress and signed by the president. Okay, they talk about bills, but question 2 is talking about checks and balances. Where does it say that checks and balances have to be signed by the president? Because bills are not the same.
I need help.
Okay. Nakai, can you help us out
I
here?
know a different one.
Okay. Which one?
C.
C, keeps all the branches equal. Okay. Where in our story does it tell us that it keeps the branches equal?
It's the same place where you put the arrow, but it says all 3 branches are equal.
There we go. We already have the arrow there. Checks and balances. All 3 branches are equal. Remember, checks and balances is like rock, paper, scissors for our government. In rock, paper, scissors, there's not one thing that always wins. In our government, there's not one part that always makes the decisions. They've got to work together. So I think that's the good one. The good answer choice to pick there, Nakai, is answer choice C. Checks and balances keeps the branches equal. Number 3. Who may veto a bill passed by Congress? A, the Congress. B, the Justice of the Peace. C, the President. Or D, the Constitution. Kylie, think you found this one?
C, the president.
C, the President. Where does it tell me that?
In the first paragraph, it says it is also the job of the president to
decide
whether to sign the bill passed by Congress into law or veto it.
Very good. Tells me right there. So the person that gets to veto is the president. Put another arrow here. Your choice C is our answer. Okay. So for this last question, on the back, draw a graphic organizer to represent 3 branches of government. We're not going to use the back, we're going to use the front. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up here to my shapes, the button that has a circle and a square. And I'm just going to use circles. I think they're easier. Our government has 3 branches, so I'm going to make 3 circles. 1, another one, 2, and I'm going to make one more, 3. 1, 2, 3. When you put your circles on your page, make sure, like they told us here, they're all equal. So I don't want to have one circle way up here and the other circles at the bottom. I want to have them all lined up. If you click on the circles, you can actually write a label for them. That's what we're going to do. We're going to label each circle with one of the branches of government. So the first one they told us was executive. Need to make my circle a little bigger. Oh, a lot bigger again. There we go. Executive. Make this one bigger. Probably going to. And the second one they told us about was congressional. And the last one, click on it and give that a title. Judiciary. Actually, it's kind of a good thing I had to stretch them out. We can see that all three of the branches, all three of my circles are touching. They're all lined up. One is not higher or lower than the other ones. They're all equal. If you have space between your circles, you could use a line and just draw a line between them. So that way they're all on that same line. Like we said, there is not one branch of government that's more important or more powerful or more, I don't know, or better than any of the other branches. They are all equal. And I'll leave this page up. That way we can copy down the answers. We all have the same pages.